At a number 10 spot, we have the ghost of Mr. Chu. Once upon a time in Dover's Green, Delaware, there was once a man named Samuel Chu who served as the chief justice in the town. Despite his position, the townspeople made fun of him for his name, pretending to sneeze whenever they saw him. You know, like, Chu? This constant teasing eventually took its toll on Samuel Chu after he passed away in 1743. It seemed that his death didn't bring him peace, as his ghost soon started haunting the town immediately. The first person to report an encounter with the ghost of Samuel Chu was farmer David Hendricks. He claimed that on a cold autumn night, the ghost appeared to him dressed in the judge's robe and white powdered wig. As the farmer was on his way to the tavern, the ghost chased after him, causing him to run home in terror. The story of the ghost quickly spread throughout the town, and soon after, residents reported sightings of this apparition as well. Over time, people in Dover became afraid to leave their homes after dark, and the once thriving taverns in the town started to empty out. The tavern owners became worried about their livelihood, and so one of them, Mistress Van Loon, called the town meeting to discuss a solution. She suggested that the ghost could be laid to rest by giving him a proper burial. The town agreed, and Samuel Chu's ghost was given a grand funeral in an ornate grave. Although the ghost was said to be satisfied with his new resting place, there was still tales of him roaming the streets and tormenting those who made fun of his name by sneezing when they hear it. Number 9. Fort Delaware. Fort Delaware, located on Pea Patch Island in the Delaware River, is a piece of American history that has been preserved to this day. The fort was first built in 1859 with the purpose of protecting the ports of Willingham and Philadelphia during the Spanish-American War. During the Civil War, it was also used as a prison camp for Confederate soldiers. The conditions at Fort Delaware were brutal, however, and many prisoners perished as a result, leading to reports of ghostly apparitions and strange occurrences that still persist to this day. With nearly 13,000 prisoners kept in wooden barracks, conditions at this fort were inhumane. Food rations were small and almost inedible, water was putrefied, and prisoners were subjected to torturous conditions, such as officers throwing rats in the crowds for their amusement. Scurvy, smallpox, and severe malnutrition were widespread. It is not surprising then that many of the 2,700 men who perished at the fort, as well as those who lived to be freed, continue to haunt the prison to this day. Visitors to the fort report a range of supernatural activities, ranging from being tapped on to feeling as if someone is breathing directly on them. So if you dare, you can actually take a 5-hour tour here for paranormal purposes only. Number 8. The Shelbyville Swamp Monster. The legend of the Shelbyville Swamp Monster has been known to the residents of Delaware since early 1960s. According to the tale, a grotesque creature dwells in the Great Cypress Swamp, terrorizing locals and visitors alike. However, the truth behind this legend is far more intriguing than the story itself. In 1987, it was revealed that the entire monster hoax was created by Ralph Grapperhaus, the editor of Delmarva News, and his friend Fred Stevens. Grapperhaus, who is known for his love of a good prank, Stevens, who was 26 at the time, dressed up in a costume made of his Aunt Dorothy's old raccoon hat, a mask, and a club, and then hid in the shallows of the woods. He would jump out at passing cars on Route 54, creating the illusion of a monster inside of the swamp. The news of the alleged monster sightings soon spread like wildfire, and a photo of the Shelbyville Swamp Monster even made the front page of the Delmarva News on April 23, 1964. Stevens even participated in the hunt to find this creature, adding fuel to the fire of the hoax. However, Stevens eventually stopped the charade out of fear for his safety. It wasn't until 23 years later that the truth behind the legend was finally revealed. Despite the revelation, residents continued to report sightings of the monster in the Great Cypress Swamp. Some people believe that the creature was not entirely a hoax and that a monster still may be roaming the foggy shadows of the swamp. In the 1920s, a couple of hunters reported hearing loud, inhumane screaming, followed by sounds of something large and heavy racing towards them. This has led some, including local author Andy Nunez, to question if there may be some truth to the legend after all. Number 7. Catman's Grave. The Long Cemetery, also known as Colonel Armwell Long Cemetery, is located at the end of an old dirt road in southeastern Delaware. It was established as a family plot for Colonel Armwell Long, who served in the Revolutionary War, and his family after his death in 1834. The land was later turned into a public cemetery in his memory, with Armwell being the first official burial. One of the most famous stories related to the cemetery is that of the Catman. The Catman was a former caretaker of the cemetery who lived in a nearby home and was known for chasing away any teenagers who came to the cemetery to cause any sort of trouble. After his death, the Catman was buried in an above-ground tomb in the cemetery, but even in death, he continued to watch over the cemetery and was still said to take care for it. However, the tomb was torn down in 1994 due to vandalism, and the Catman was given a regular in-ground burial. People who saw the tomb before it was torn down reported seeing strange scratches on the inside that were said to resemble those of a cat's claws. It is believed that if someone knocks on the wall of the cemetery 3 times, they will summon the Catman, who will cause the visitor's car to fail, making it difficult for them to leave. Despite no longer being the caretaker of the cemetery, the Catman is still said to have no patience for anyone messing around in his cemetery. Number 6. The Old Maggie's Bridge. Located on Woodland Church Road in Seaford or Woodland, Delaware, it is known for being one of the most haunted roads in the States. This is what it looks like in the daytime. Looks pretty normal. Well, you're wrong, cause this short bridge holds a dark and eerie history, as it is said that a young woman named Maggie Bloxam was decapitated in an accident on the bridge in the late 19th century. To add to the horror, her grave can be found in a local cemetery, with the cause of her death being listed as young and pregnant. Maggie's spirit is believed to still haunt the bridge, searching for her lost baby and possibly her head. According to local legend, if you visit the bridge at night, you should get out of your car and yell into the night, "Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby." People have reported seeing figures moving about the woods on either side of the bridge, and photographs often come back with orbs dancing in the dark, and it is said that the best time to visit the bridge is during a full moon, when Maggie can be seen in all of her ghostly glory. There are multiple accounts of cars acting strangely on the bridge, with engines failing to start, gears shifting out of place, or the car moving on its own after the engine has been turned off. These experiences has led regular paranormal investigations at the site, and many locals swear that Maggie's ghost is still very active and can be seen on the right nights. In the hump of our list, we have the Pukwudgie. The Pukwudgie is a mythical creature from Wampanoag folklore, originating from Delaware and Prince Edward Island. According to the legend, the Pukwudgies are a human-like creature that can appear and disappear at will, and they also have the ability to shapeshift, use magic, launch poison arrows, and create fire. They are known to cause trouble for those who annoy them and are considered to be hostile to humans. Native American folklore suggests that the Pukwudgies were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them out of jealousy towards the cultural heroes Michelle and Granny Squanit. Ever since, the Pukwudgies are said to have kidnapped, attacked, and blinded their victims, and now are labeled as dangerous creatures. They are known to have caused mischief and torment to the Native American community, and are said to have killed Maushop's 5 sons, while some variations suggest that they may have killed Maushop himself. Whether or not you think they are good or not, they are definitely a creature best to avoid. Number 4, the Zeewanhendiao mermaid. In the early 17th century, Dutch settlers attempted to establish a settlement named Zeewanhendiao in what is now Delaware, USA. Although the colony was short-lived and destroyed after a single year, it is now remembered as the first European settlement in the area. To commemorate the 300th anniversary of its founding, the Zeewanhendiao Museum was created, showcasing the history of southeastern Delaware. And this thing, yeah, I don't know about that. This is a supposed mummified mermaid that was given to the prominent Martin family by a sea captain and eventually lent to this museum. The mermaid, however, is not the beautiful mythical creature that one might expect. Instead, it has a simian face with large rigid eye sockets and a wide toothy mouth. Its hands are clawed like a reptile, and its torso is covered in bony ridges. The creature is small, less than a foot in length, and its skin and scales are ashy gray-black. But in reality, not to burst anyone's bubbles, the mermaid is a clever taxidermy specimen that bears a closer resemblance to a Fiji mermaid made classic by P.T. Barnum. This tradition of taxidermied monsters can be traced back to the Misemono, a type of carnival in Old Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo, where mummified mermaids and other supernatural creatures were displayed as carnival attractions. These creatures were believed to bring good luck and fortune to attendees, and were often constructed from the bodies of fish and small monkeys dressed with paper mache, wood, and lacquer. Over time, these fake mermaids or ningyo made their way overseas and became popular curiosities for sailors from America and Europe, where the folklore behind the creature was lost, leaving a blank canvas for new mythologies to be written. Number 3, the Addie C Inn. The Addie C Inn in Bethany Beach, Delaware is a charming Victorian-style bed and breakfast that was built by the Addie family in 1902. This historic establishment is also known for being one of the most haunted places in the state of Delaware. One of the most famous hauntings at the Addie C Inn is that of a copper bathtub in room 1 that vibrates mysteriously. Guests have reported experiencing the tub shaking violently, and the story of the shaking tub has become one of the most well-known tales associated with the inn. There are also reports of eerie organ music heard coming from room 6, despite no organ being present in the room. Guests have reported the ghostly apparition of someone running through the hallways at night, accompanied by the smells of perfume and the sounds of mysterious music. Room 11 is believed to be haunted by Paul Dulaney, a former handyman who worked for the Addie family, while Curtis Addie's ghost is said to roam the roof of the inn, restless after falling to his death from the roof many years prior. Number 2, the Governor's Mansion. The Governor's Mansion, also known as Woodburn, is a grand and historic building in Dover, Delaware. This stately abode was constructed in the late 1700s by Charles Hilliard III and has served as the official residence of Delaware's governors for many years. But there's more to the story of Woodburn than just its impressive exterior. For generations, people have whispered about the ghostly happenings that seem to occur within its walls. The first recorded instance of paranormal activity dates back to just 25 years after the house was built, when Charles Hilliard III passed away. According to the legend, the owners of the mansion at the time invited a Methodist preacher to stay with them. During a morning prayer session, the preacher requested they wait for the other guests who was staying in the guest house. The couple claimed that there was no one else visiting, but the preacher went on to describe his ghostly roommates in vivid detail, matching Charles Hilliard III's appearance exactly. Since then, many have reported strange and unusual occurrences within the mansion's walls. Some say that the ghost of Charles Hilliard himself still roams inside of this building, and that if you leave a glass of wine on the stairs for him, you'll find it drained by the morning. Other ghostly sightings included the screams of a slave who was caught and killed near the mansion's porch while running from slave hunters, and the ghostly figure of a young girl dressed in a gingham dress and bonnet carrying a candle and roaming the grounds. Whether you're a paranormal enthusiast or simply a lover of all things historical, the Governor's Mansion is definitely worth a visit. Number 1, the Dead President's Hub. The Dead President's Hub and Restaurant in Willingham, Delaware is a popular gathering spot with a rich and spooky history. The pub is located in a historical part of the city and is known for its presidential memorabilia and paranormal activity. Despite being in business only since the late 1990s, the two-story space has a long and varied history, having served as a private residency and several other businesses, including bars, over the years. Visitors of the pub claim to feel a dark and heavy presence, with strange occurrences such as glass rattling on their own and rooms becoming extremely cold all of a sudden. Late at night, employees have reported hearing childlike giggles and witnessing dishes flying across the room. One ghostly figure that is rumored to visit the pub regularly is Lemonade Mullery, who is said to have died from a fall in the bathroom in the 1960s. Several paranormal investigation teams have been drawn to the pub to study the ghostly activity, and they all agree that the place is teeming with entities that feel like they're part of the staff. At a number 10 spot, we have the Chislehurst Caves. This large cave in England spans 22 miles of passageways split into 3 distinct sections named Saxon, Druid, and Roman. They all branch out and then end up linking one another soon after. In World War II, many British civilians would use this cave to hide from the bombings, but these caves date way further back than that, because they date all the way in 1250, where there are written reports of mining in these caves. Throughout history, the cave was also used as a cemetery to keep the dead, which is why many people believe it is haunted. People regularly report hearing screams, murmurs, children giggling, and footsteps echoing from deep within the cave. Locals even claim that the reports are from the spirits who passed away in the cave, trying to let the living know of the eternal suffering. At a number 9 spot, we have London fog. On December 4th in 1952, smog began to cover all of London. London. The smog was present for 5 whole days and ended up leading to the passing of at least 4,000 people. On a regular Thursday afternoon, a high-pressure air mass stalled over the Thames River Valley. Suddenly, cold air came in from the west side and the air in London became trapped. The problem worsened by the low temperatures, which caused people living there to burn extra coal in their furnaces to keep warm. The smoke, soot, and sulfur dioxide from the area's industries, along with the stuff from the cars and consumer energy usage, caused heavy smog to smother the whole entire city. By the morning of December 5th, it was visible across hundreds of square miles. It became so thick and dense that by December 7th, there was no sunlight and visibility was only down to 5 yards in many places. Eventually, all transportation came to a halt, but not before the smog caused several train accidents, including a collision between 2 trains near the London Bridge. However, that wasn't the worst thing. The worst effect of the smog was the respiratory distress it caused in humans and animals, including difficulty breathing and a lot of people vomiting. A high number of people in the area, numbering all the way in the thousands, passed away in their sleep that weekend. Now, it's a little crazy to me that all this happened and so many people ended up losing their lives. Hopefully we can learn from this. At number 8 spot, we have Maternity Hospital. This building was constructed at the end of the 18th century on the territory of the hospital for participants in the Patriotic War of 1812 against the French army of Napoleon, and initially it was a general district hospital. It became a maternity hospital in the second half of the 20th century and was closed for reconstruction in 2009. The plan of this 2-story building resembles this Russian letter. The ceilings are more than 5 meters high, and in spite of the fact that the building is totally abandoned, it still has central heating and is rather clean. Vloggers and people passionate about abandoned sites visit it on a regular daily basis. The hospital is situated in the region of Vladimir, which is 186 kilometers to the east of Moscow. At number 7 spot, we have the Knights Templar curse. The Knight Templar was a Christian military order with the purpose to protect pilgrims in the Holy Land during the Crusade period. They had the power and the money. Philip IV from France sought to seize their wealth and power. So in a raid, Grand Master of the Templars, Jacques de Molay, was arrested along with his Templar comrades, being charged with heresy. Soon after, King Philip pressured Pope Clement V and made him agree to the reasoning. The Pope would issue a bill that made all Christian kings able to seize Templar property, which destroyed the Templar order, and Jacques de Molay was sentenced to death. Jacques, while burning on the stake, said, quote, "France will remember our last moments. We die innocent. And you, O Philip, my king, I pardon you. But my forgiveness is in vain, for your life is condemned at the tribunal of God. Within a year I shall await you also." Only 3 days later, Pope Clement would die in agony, and when he was cremated, the fire burned down the church as well. Then Philip IV died at the end of the year and died in great misery and in great pain. At number 6 spot, we have Scylla. This is a monster feared for her brutality. Scylla is a very interesting ocean creature in Greek mythology. She is usually beside the great whirlpool Cerberus and is a huge danger to those who wish to pass her waters. Out of all creatures in Greek mythology, her destruction ranks the highest, no questions asked. But she wasn't always this horrendous monster. In one depiction, she was a beautiful maiden and the fisherman turned god of the sea, Glaucus, fell in love with her. She wasn't interested at all because of his fishy tail, so he turned to Circe to ask for a potion to change her mind. However, Circe loved him and tried to convince him to forget about Scylla. Not wanting to punish the man she loved, Circe decided Scylla would suffer for her humiliation. Scylla was then transformed into a monster which had 6 serpentine-like heads, as well as the sounds of hounds spouting from her sides. There is no point in trying to escape her, cause you just can't. She is too powerful. All people who try to pass her are warned, quote, "Sail past, do not engage in a fight, as you will simply not win." In the hump of our list, we have real werewolves. You might think of werewolf stories as something only told for fun around the campfire, but that wasn't always the case. People truly believed in the existence of these creatures. In fact, in the 16th and 17th century in Europe, werewolf trials accompanied witch trials. It's even more surprising to note that the amount of people who confessed to being werewolves. Some were likely tortured into confession, but others believed that they were actually real werewolves. The idea that a human could transform into an animal was quite popular, and people thought they could make a deal with the devil in order to gain that power. In the 1500s, a French tailor was convicted of luring in, torturing, and slaying his victims before cooking and having them for dinner. He was also accused of turning into a werewolf to terrorize a town at night. Although there are no exact victim count, he was believed to have taken dozens of lives. The tailor made no attempt to defend himself. Instead, he cursed until his last breath, which he burned at the stake. mistake. The court was apparently so shocked by his evil acts that the court burned the documents as well. At number 4 spot, we have the Chernobyl black bird. Just a few days before the infamous Chernobyl nuclear plant disaster, many workers at the plant reported seeing a large, dark, and mutated man with gigantic wings. This humanoid creature was given the name Black Bird of Chernobyl, and despite the fact that it had no head, it had piercing red eyes who would send chills to the spines of anyone caught looking at it. Before the disaster, workers claimed to have been plagued by terrifying dreams and many instances of bad luck. Fast forward to the day of the disaster, and now workers have reported seeing the large black bird-like creature with a 40-foot wingspan flying through the smoke of Chernobyl. Many people believe these creatures to be a bad omen since they are shown around history to appear before tragic events. Now this creature is nowhere to be found in the area, which makes me wonder what was truly haunting them at the famous nuclear plant. At number 3 spot, we have sirens. Originating from Greek mythology, sirens are creatures with enchanting musical voices that lure sailors and unsuspecting people to their doom. They were in fact the daughters of the river god Achilles and a muse. Sometimes they're depicted as something similar to mermaids, but in more classical depictions they had wings. The wings were given to them by Zeus's daughter Persephone after Hades kidnapped her and took her to the underworld. She gave the sirens wings to help locate her, but in the oceans the sirens would sing a song so beautiful that it would lure any kind of man to jump off the boat and swim until the sirens would just pull them down under and drown them. Number 2 spot, with the Nuclevi. The Nuclevi is a creature from the Orkney Islands and is considered a Scottish monster of Scandinavian and Celtic mythology. The Nuclevi enjoys inflicting pain, tainting crops, and driving people from their homes. It appears as a horse with the torso of a man upon his back, standing 9 feet tall with long drapey arms attached to the rider, and it looks as though it had been skinned alive with only the muscles exposed. It was known as the creature of the sea that had come onto land just to wreak havoc. Its breath alone caused crops to wilt and even sicken cattle with diseases. At a number 1 spot, we have the Caves of Death. I mean, the name says it all. But if you happen to be in Scotland and you want to try something daring, then try out the Caves of Death. Archaeologists discovered this not too long ago and found that this was an ancient location used for human sacrifice, execution, and body disposal. Radiocarbon dating found mass of dismembered body parts, including children's heads left on poles in front of the cave's entrance, which were left there over 3,000 years ago. It's said they did this because they treated this place as a shrine where they would leave those who passed away, wait for them to decompose, and then collect the bones. At number 10 spot, we have the Warren Occult Museum. The Warren Occult Museum is a museum located in Monroe, Connecticut. It was founded by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. You know, the ones from Conjuring? Yeah. It was dedicated for preserving and displaying artifacts related to the supernatural and the occult. As we see in the films, this place has objects ranging from cursed witch voodoo to innocent looking toys with murderous histories. Rightfully so, the Warren Occult Museum is known for its association with its own hauntings. For example, at many different times, the guests and even the Warrens believed that it was haunted by the ghost of the objects it contained, no matter how much preparation was made to prevent it from happening. Other visitors claim that the museum is actually haunted by the ghost of Ed Warren himself. The legend says that the ghost of Ed Warren can be seen in the museum and that his presence can be felt by those who enter. Other notable objects in this museum include Annabelle the doll, the Devil Made Me Do It dinosaur toy. At a number 9 spot, we have the Witch of Wooster Square. The Witch of Wooster Square is a ghostly figure that is said to haunt the streets of New Haven. The legend of the Witch of Wooster Square is thought to have originated in the early 1800s when New Haven was a bustling city and Wooster Square was a popular gathering place. At the time, the square was home to many shops, taverns, and other small businesses. However, this was still a time when the witch hysteria was ongoing, so it didn't take long until all the townsfolk accused one lady of being a full-fledged witch. The lady was said to be a very beautiful but also a very mysterious and reclusive person, which just gave more reason to believe that she was hiding something and therefore a witch at the time. Over time, people started to fear her as locals claimed the lady would cast spells and curses on those who crossed her. The legend of the Witch of Wooster Square grew, and people began to claim that they had seen the ghostly figure of a woman on the streets of the square. Some claimed to have seen her floating through the air, but regardless, visitors claim to feel a different type of energy when they're here at this place. At our number 8 spot, we have the Green Lady. The Green Lady is a popular story in Connecticut. According to the legend, the Green Lady was a woman who lived in a mansion in the woods outside of a small town in Connecticut. She was known for her beauty and her love of nature, and she would often be seen walking through the woods wearing a long flowing green dress. However, one day, the Green Lady disappeared without a trace. It is said that her ghost now haunts these woods, still wearing her green dress and looking for her lost love. Some people claim to have seen her standing amongst the trees with a sad and wistful expression on her face. Others have reported hearing her mournful cries in the night. Despite the creepy nature of this story, many people are drawn to the legend of the Green Lady and continue to search for her ghost in the woods of Connecticut. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the story of this is a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lurk in the depths of the forest. At a number 7 spot, with the New London Ledge Lighthouse. The New London Ledge Lighthouse is a historic lighthouse located in New London, Connecticut. It was situated on a small island at the entrance to the harbor and has been in operation since 1909. There are several scary stories associated with this lighthouse. One of the most famous is the story of a former lighthouse keeper named Captain Richard Phillips. According to the legend, Captain Phillips was a gruff and stern man who was not well liked by the other lighthouse keepers. One night, while he was on duty at the lighthouse, Captain Phillips had a heart attack and passed away. Since his death, many people have reported seeing his ghost still at the lighthouse. Some say that he is seen walking the halls, still carrying out his duties as the lighthouse keeper. Others have reported hearing strange noises and seeing strange lights coming from the lighthouse at night. Despite his ghost, the New London Ledge Lighthouse will always remain a popular tourist attraction and a beloved symbol of New England's maritime history. At our number 6 spot, with the White Lady of Union Cemetery. The White Lady is a ghostly woman who is sent to haunt the Union Cemetery in Easton. According to the legend, the White Lady was a young woman who was tragically killed in a car accident near this cemetery. Ever since, her ghost is said to still be here, appearing as a white-clad figure floating among the graves. Many people have reported seeing the White Lady at this cemetery, and that her ghost is said to be particularly active on foggy nights. Some say that if you see this White Lady, it means someone you know will pass away soon. So best keep your eyes closed if you come here. Others claim that she is a benevolent spirit who brings good luck to those who see her. Over the time, the legend of the White Lady grew, and people began wondering if she was either good or if she was bad. But one thing was for sure, when you come to this cemetery, chances are you'll probably catch a glimpse of her spirit. In the hump of our list, we have the Litchfield Hills. The Litchfield Hills is a scenic region in northwestern Connecticut, known for its rolling hills and charming small towns. Locals claim that Litchfield Hills is actually haunted by the ghost of a woman named Elizabeth. According to the legend, Elizabeth was a woman who lived in Litchfield Hills in the 1800s. After she saw the passing of her children, she was so overcome with grief and despair that she turned to the dark arts to seek revenge on those who wronged her in life. Filled with extreme rage, she ran to these fields and stayed here until she passed away, murdering everyone who walked by. They say that she could still be seen wandering the hills, but as a ghost form, and that her presence can be felt by any of those who encounter her. As well, there's a farmhouse nestled away here that was built in 1790. This house seemed to be a spot for many different paranormal occurrences that even Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated and dubbed it the Ghost Central. At a number 4 spot, with the Norwich State Hospital. The Norwich State Hospital was a psychiatric hospital located in Norwich, Connecticut. It was in operation from 1904 to 1996, known for its overcrowding, inadequate staffing, and poor conditions, which included reports of physical and SA of patients. During its time of being active, workers and patients claimed to see the ghosts from inside of these walls, and to this day, people believe these spirits are still here. They are said to be the spirits of the patients who passed away here after being left untreated and not taken care of. They also say sections of the hospital are haunted by the ghost of a nurse who was murdered there by a former patient. As mentioned, the hospital has closed down and many of the buildings were demolished, but the site still holds a reputation for being haunted and is still considered a popular location for ghost hunters, at least around the ruined grounds. Number 3, Devil's Footsteps. The Devil's Footsteps are a mysterious set of footprints that appear and disappear without any explanation in the woods of Danbury. The legend of the Devil's Footsteps is thought to have originated in the 1800s when the woods of Danbury were home to many settlers and farmers. At the time, it was said that a man named John Rugg was walking through the woods when he heard a strange otherworldly voice calling out his name. When he turned to look, he saw a pair of footprints in the snow that were not his own. Over time, the legend of the devil's footprints grew, and people began to claim that they seen these mysterious footprints in the woods following behind them. Some said that the footprints would appear and disappear without any explanation, while others claimed that they would hear the voice of the devil calling out their name, and ever since, this has been a mystery. Number 2, Chasing Youth. The Chasing Youth is a spirit that is said to haunt the old Mark Twain house in Hartford. The legend of the Chasing Youth is thought to have originated in the late 1800s when the Mark Twain house was home to the famous writer and his family. At the time, it was said that Twain's wife, Olivia, was plagued by a strange illness that caused her to lose her youth and beauty. In her desperation to regain her youth, it is said that Olivia turned to the dark arts and summoned a spirit known as the Chasing Youth. Over time, the legend of the Chasing Youth grew. Eventually, more and more people would begin seeing this Chasing Youth creature. Some have said they can still hear the sounds of footsteps and other strange noises inside of this house, and they could also feel the presence of the Chasing Youth even when they couldn't even see her. At number 1 spot, we have Union Cemetery. Union Cemetery is a historic cemetery located in Easton, Connecticut. The cemetery was established in 1740 and is the final resting place for many of the town's early settlers and notable residents. It is known for its beautiful grounds, historic headstones, and its association with several legends and other ghost stories. One such legend is that of the cemetery is haunted by the ghost of a woman known as the White Lady. Although there are many different variations of this story, here's another one. According to some, the White Lady is a ghostly figure that can be seen walking the cemetery at night, and she is often associated with a particular grave in the cemetery. Another legend associated with this place is that it's haunted by a man who was wrongfully accused and executed for murder. The legend says that the man's ghost can be seen in the cemetery and that his presence can be felt by those who enter, and some visitors claim that they've walked up to him and they've seen him talk, saying that he's asking them for forgiveness. At a number 10 spot, we have the Kaikoji Temple. This place has nothing really scary about it except the fact that it has mummified bodies on display. Okay, maybe it is a bit scary. These mummified figures are known as the Sukinbutsu, also known as the living Buddha or Buddha mummies. These are in fact real people, and these are the bodies of the priests who belong to the Shingon sect of the Japanese Buddhism. All the mummies we see are priests who made the drastic decision to self-mummification. Just something about a body that is fully intact for hundreds of years that makes it so creepy. The process for mummification would actually be pretty intense. For the first 1,000 days, they would do extreme fasting and exercising. Then in the next 1,000 days, they would reduce their diet to a bare minimum. The last 1,000 days would consist of entombment, basically meaning that they would bury themselves alive, essentially while in a deep state of meditation in order to reach enlightenment. At a number 9 spot, we have a devil sighting. Somewhere in Asia during the night, a driver encountered one of the creepiest looking people on the road. It's hard to explain, so it's best to see what I'm talking about. In the video, we see a young woman with long dark hair sitting in the middle of the road. As she notices the camera, she starts to walk backwards towards the car and then begins to pick up her pace. This is when the car is like, yup, no, I'm out of here. Many claim that what you see in the video is in fact a real devil, while others claim it's a deliberate prank. But who goes this far for a prank? Like, really? At number 8 spot, we have the Casablanca Tunnel. This is considered to be Indonesia's most haunted tunnel. It is located in the Basuki Rahmat Street near Kuningan area, and although there is nothing documented about this bridge, it is believed to be built sometime in the 1980s. The tunnel's location used to be a graveyard, so during construction, they planned to relocate it, but did so improperly. So you kind of see where this goes. It's said that this caused many of the spirits to come out of their eternal rest. Although other tunnels have their own fair share of accidents, the ones that happen in the Casablanca tunnel are quite different. Drivers who were caught in accidents all claim seeing a woman walking across the street, causing them to crash in the first place. The woman is known as the Red Robe Lady, and as the name suggests, she would be seen walking the tunnel in her red robe. It is said that this is the ghost of a woman whose grave was disturbed and has been there ever since. At a number 7 spot, we have the paranormal taxi. When a taxi driver in Japan was dropping off their passenger, their dash cam captures something paranormal. To the driver, the car ride was completely normal, but to us, we can see the dashcam footage, there was nothing normal about it. He is seen driving under a bridge when what it looks like a ghost appears in the backseat of the car. The figure seems to linger around for a while at one point having what looks like a smile on its face. Then suddenly, after a bit, the figure just vanishes.
タイヤ飛んでる入り込んでる。
Now, some say that it's a reflection of the lights in the tunnel, but I don't really know how much I believe that, and not to mention how the figure just disappears for a bit, then come back when the driver is no longer in the tunnel. At a number 6 spot, we have the Devil's Bend at Old Upper Thompson Road. The creepy road is said to be haunted by the spirits of drivers who unfortunately passed away while trying to navigate this tricky road bend. The story goes that it is part of the race route of the original Singapore Grand Prix, which was held from 1961 to 1974 until it was discontinued due to its high fatality rate. The poorly lit stretch is still a favorite haunt for illegal street racers and thrill seekers. The most recent accident claimed the lives of 2 passengers when the car they were traveling in plunged into a ditch in 2008. Now, it's not really hard to get here because it's just a road, so you're more than welcome to drive here. Right in the hump of our list, we have Khao Lak. Khao Lak is a beautiful seaside town in Phang Nga province. In 2004, it was all but destroyed by a devastating tsunami. While many places in several countries suffered fatalities and damage after the huge earthquake in the Indian Ocean, Khao Lak saw Thailand's greatest loss of life. It is estimated that at least 4,000 people perished on December 26, 2004. The resort has risen from the debris, with homes, hotels, and businesses gradually being rebuilt and repaired. Many Thai people believe that the coastal region is haunted by the tsunami's victims, and guests have reported strange occurrences in many local hotels. Others have even reported that human hands have tried to grab them while they're swimming near the coastlines where this tragedy struck. So maybe not the best place to go for vacation. I don't know. At number 4 spot, we have the Bayoki Sky Hotel. Located in what was once the tallest building in Bangkok, the Bayoki Sky Hotel is one of the highest hotels in Southeast Asia. It towers over much of the city at 88 stories tall. However, in 2012, there was a tragic accident during the construction of the tower, whereby 3 workers plummeted to their deaths. Perhaps enraged by unsafe equipment and working practices, the souls are now said to haunt the high-class hotel. Guests and staff members alike have reported a variety of strange happenings. These include mysteriously moving objects and even creepy shadows in the darkness. Even websites like TripAdvisor and Google reviews talk about many of the supernatural encounters they've had in the hotel. These reviews suggest that the ghosts report poltergeist activity, which includes having their items moved around the room aggressively, shadow figures in the dark corners of the rooms, and having the feeling of being watched and not alone. I know it doesn't make sense financially, but I feel like they should just close down a hotel after more than a few deaths have occurred there, because I swear every hotel is haunted because of that nowadays. At number 3 spot, we have the Jingxi. Also known as the Chinese hopping vampire, the Jingxi comes from a phrase meaning stiff corpse. They are psychic vampire zombies. Yes, you heard that right. Who feeds off a person's chi rather than their blood. And for those who don't know, chi is considered to be a person's life force, which means that it's the energy that flows through and your entire body, basically giving you life in a sense. So unlike the vampires we have over here, the Jingxi prefers not to consume humans or our blood, and they also aren't able to walk, so they're seen hopping around with their hands out front to maintain their balance. Many believe these creatures are created following a violent death, an improper burial, use of supernatural powers, or you just got bit by another vampire. Don't get it confused, this is the horror hybrid of the century. At number 2 spot, we have Mount Osori. This is one of Japan's most sacred sites, and for a good reason. It's claimed by many to be one of the entrances to hell. First, the temple lies on top of a volcanic plain, and as you roam the area, you will constantly pick up the scent of sulfur, which is already eerie because this is the smell of ghosts and devils supposedly. But volcanic reasons also make sense. According to Buddhist monks, they say this place resembles the description of hell and also paradise, so this is why they believe this is the spirit hub. Around the area are also these little Jizo statues. These were used to guide people who were lost, especially for children to keep and take with them for safety. Parents who have lost their children bring pebbles to the site as an offering for their kids to easily go through the afterlife. Except many of the pebbles left are often left broken, and many have placed the blame on evil demons in the area. They even have a festival at the shrine where blind women named Itaku bring messages from the afterlife back to the living. So best believe there are quite a few spirits here waiting to communicate with. At a number 1 spot, we have the Tugu complex. In the city of Malang are 3 schools who were in deep connection with the horrors committed in World War II. Back in 1940s, these 3 schools were used as concentration camps by the opposing Japanese soldiers. The Japanese created an underground system of crawl spaces and secret rooms that connect each school along with the local train station and governor's office. This would ensure accessibility everywhere. Legends say that these 2 teenagers attempted to explore these tunnels and secret passageways, but after a short time, one student came back screaming while the other student was found weeks later in the train station in a trance-like state, and he was unable to speak about the horrors he saw. Many believe he saw the ghosts of those who lost their lives in World War II. Another occurrence is the blood stains on the floor tiles in each building. And the odd thing is, workers say that removing these stains are nearly impossible, and some would even fall ill after trying to complete the job.